Arkadaşlar merhabalar. 30 saniye içerisinde 0.2.0 yamasının official broadcast'ı başlıyor. Beraber izleyeceğiz, yorumlayacağız. Bakalım neler gösterecekler. Göreceğiz. Aynı anda hem Twitch'te hem Kick'te yayın da var. Belki hani bunu izlerken beraber izlediğimiz insanlardan da olabilirsiniz. Yorumlara oradaydım, buradaydım yazabilirsiniz. Hi YouTube.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile
Geldi
2.
Jonathan.
Welcome to GGG Live. Well, it's been a little over 3 months since we launched Early Access, so it's about time for our first major content update. Today, we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt, which launches on April 4th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream.
Evet, Twitch droplardan bahsediyor.
In order to claim your Executioner's Guillotine finisher effect. Now in today's stream, we're going to take you on a deep dive
Yeni
into
class.
the new Dawn of the Hunt update. We'll cover a new class, 5 new
Yeni
Ascendancy
Ascendancy.
classes,
5
and
tane.
huge expansions on character systems like unique items and support gems.
Support
After
gem ve
that, it's
unique'ler
on to the
geliyormuş.
in-game improvements,
Endgame.
including changes to systems, a bunch of new encounters, and
Yeni,
lots of
yeni
other
content.
We're going to finish up today with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will
Ziggy
ask
D
Path of
de
Exile 2's game
Q&A.
directors, myself and Mark, your questions from Twitch chat. Now we have a lot to cover
New
today,
class, evet,
so let's
maalesef.
get started with a trailer for Path of Exile 2,
Hadi
Dawn of the
bakalım.
Hunt.
We Azmerian are
Aha,
guided by the spirit.
yeni.
It provides prey, shelter, even love. But for me, one day, all that were changed. The spirit, it showed me something. Something forbidden. And to defend all I loved, I used it. I lost everything that day. But fate
Huntress.
won't finish with me yet.
Aha. Susun. Yakaladılar hatunu.
I'll right the wrongs I've done. I'll do what I must. No matter the cost.
Aha. Kaptı mızrağı valla. Yavrum benim.
I will hear the spirit once more.
Oğlum Huntress'ın yanında mızrakla nöbet tutulur mu lan? O ne? O ne? Neye bindi o? O ne oğlum? Mount değil mi o? Rogue Exile'lar geliyor. Rogue Exile'lar. 100 artı New Unique mi? Ne diyorsun? Bunlar ne? Bunlar ne? Yeni harita. Aa! Şey vardı orada. Neydi? Kalandıra. Kalandıra'ydı o. Ne oluyor oğlum? Etkideki sahipsiz mount.
Now, as you can see, in
Huh.
Dawn of the Hunt, we're introducing the first new class since early access to POE2, the Huntress. The Huntress is a spear-wielding Azmerian warrior. Born into a society with strict traditions, she was exiled from her homeland after using the power of a skill gem to defend her village. As a dexterous spear user, she specializes in both melee and ranged combat, dashing into and out of battle. Spears have
melee hem
extended range
range.
and a short dash, but unlike other melee weapons, you can also throw them.
Hem atabiliyorsun hem de
In
dashleyebiliyorsun
order to make
spear'la.
a hybrid ranged and melee character work, we had to do a lot of thinking about ways to make it fun to both enter and exit melee range.
Hem miniye giriyor hem de çıkabiliyor.
Get as a Huntress is whirling slash. As well as striking in a circle around you, this skill creates a whirlwind that blinds your enemies.
Aha, whirlwind.
Leaving the whirlwind
Dönen bir şey geldi en azından.
The more whirling slash is used, the bigger the whirlwind and the bigger the explosion.
Whirling blades.
Once you're out of there, you'll want to follow up with something ranged. Whip your spear around to shoot twisters towards your foes. These
Şivan
twisters
adamıyız.
bounce off walls and can hit enemies multiple times. You can also throw twisters inside a whirlwind to shoot out extra tornadoes that do way more damage.
Tornadolar.
In her offhand, the Huntress will usually want to hold a buckler, which allows you to do a new skill.
Shield kullanabiliyor.
While holding down parry, your character will counterattack any incoming attack from monsters near you.
O çok
stunning
iyi.
you. In addition, the monsters will take extra attack damage from your follow-up strike. Some specific skills are designed to be used after a parry and have extra effects. Disengage is a skill that does a quick jump back, damaging enemies in front of you, and it can be used to interrupt other actions, like dodge.
Disengage.
If you use it against a parried enemy though, it causes an explosion and gives you a frenzy charge.
Aa, frenzy charge veriyormuş.
Just be careful. If you parry too much, you're gonna get stunned and possibly killed.
Çok fazla peri atarsan
Whirling slash,
yapışıyorsun
parry,
bok çubuğu gibi.
disengage, and you'll get an explosion from the disengage and the whirling slash. The Huntress also has a variety of elemental spear throw attacks.
Aha.
You could use lightning spear to bounce lightning between your foes. Or you could throw explosive spears into the ground. These spears take a while to detonate, but when they do, they'll incinerate anyone caught in the blast.
Güzel, elemental'lı bir
All spear
şeyler.
throws on the Huntress can also be empowered by frenzy charges. For example, explosive spears will do an even larger explosion and leave fire on the ground. And these empowered versions can activate even more combos. Using whirling slash
Frenzy
over
charge.
ground fire will suck it into the whirlwind, adding fire to the explosion. Using twisters inside a fire whirlwind will shoot out fire tornadoes as well. And
Bayağı
you can do
güzel.
similar combos with ice.
Ice daha iyi
lightning
ama.
too.
Ice.
Now, a
Ice
key
iyi olur.
aspect of hunting is exhausting your foes by causing blood loss. This skill is Rake, which dashes towards your target and unleashes a
Bleed.
deadly slash, opening up wounds on your enemies.
Tamam, bilitliyor bu.
Follow up with disengage and watch them bleed out as they run towards you.
Bu hiç bilmiyorum
On
ya.
the health bar of monsters, you can see how much blood loss the enemy has experienced, and the Huntress has skills to take advantage of this. For example, using Blood Hunt will thrust forward and cause a bloody explosion. The more blood loss, the bigger the explosion. If you want to cause bigger bleeds, try out Rapid Assault. The final hit of this multi-hit combo will stick a spear into your enemy for a
Bu
big
boss
bleed.
killer olur bilitten.
Now, Explosive Spear and
Muhtemelen.
Rapid Assault both result in leaving spears behind, either in the ground or in enemies. But there are other skills
Aha,
that leave
Kalista.
spears around too, like Storm Lance, that leaves an electrical spear that arcs towards enemies.
Kalista,
But what
Kalista.
can you do with all these spears? Detonate them, of course. Thunderous Leap will allow you to jump onto and explode any spears either in the ground or in your enemies.
Adamların üzerindeki şeyleri,
Now, as well as
spilleri
hunting
patlatabiliyormuşsun.
animals, the Huntress also has the ability to work with them. While fighting any beast, you have the ability to tame it and use it as a companion.
Aha.
You can only have one companion at a time.
Companion
But if you keep the
ol.
mods that were
Ne
on,
diyorsun?
try to find a rare
Yancı.
beast with good mods to take full advantage of your ability to tame them.
Oğlum. Spectre'lar farklı şekilde geldi.
Now this is just the beginning of the Huntress. We've really tried to make the hybrid ranged and melee gameplay work for this class by having a huge amount of synergy between ranged and melee options. There are
Hem
22
yakıncı
new
hem
skills
uzakçı
available
diyor.
for the Huntress. By endgame, you'll be slinging hundreds of insanely powerful spears, sending forth spirit animals and summoning the might of Solaris from the sky. But we still haven't talked about Ascendancy classes yet. What can the
Ascendancy'den
Huntress
geliyor.
ascend into? Well,
O
the
ne?
first ascension class you could choose is the Ritualist.
Ritüel,
The Ritualist has
ritüelci.
embraced the darker side of his merry traditions by harnessing the power of animal sacrifice and plague.
Hayda,
The
satanist oğlum bu.
corrupted life force skill causes all enemies around you to grow volatile blood boils on their skin. When those enemies are slain, the boils will burst, spreading corrupted blood to all enemies around them. The Ritualist also excels in taking
Ne?
advantage of magical trinkets. The
Oha!
unfilled finger skill
Üçüncü
allows you
yüzük.
to equip an additional
Oğlum
ring on a finger
şey
around your
Infinity
neck.
nerflenmezse ne diyorsun, bu
Taking Mystic
coşar?
Attunement increases the bonuses of all the
Oha!
rings and amulets you have equipped.
Infinity.
Now this is one of my favorites. As the Whispers Ask grants you a new skill, Ritual Sacrifice. Use the skill on the corpses of slain rare monsters to absorb
Barış
the
Manço
power in
gameplay.
their blood to give you one of their modifiers for a short time.
Aha!
Specialize further into ritualistic sacrifice with As the Whispers Demand, which allows you to perform that skill on yourself instead of a corpse. Cut your own hand.
Üzerinde Headhunter var lan.
Some of your own blood to empower yourself.
Üzerinde Headhunter var.
The
Hem
Amazon
Ingenuity hem
Ascension is for those
Headhunter.
looking to hunt more than just beasts. Trained as an elite
Oha!
guide to the most important Azmerian elders, the Amazon will use more traditional fighting techniques mastered to perfection. The Predatory Instinct skill will cause you to reveal weaknesses in the defenses of rare and unique enemies, causing you to deal more damage. You can see those weak spots represented on their life bars. While using Elemental Infusion, any charges you consume will infuse your weapon with elemental power, causing any projectile attacks to explode on impact. The Critical Strike skill is as simple as it sounds. It takes your excess accuracy and gives it to you as critical strike chance. Additionally, you have skills like Mystic
sanki
Harvest,
oyun
which
sonu
allows your elemental damage to
gibi.
leech life, and as Mary Brew to be able to use either flask to restore both life and mana.
Oo.
So those are the two new ascendancies for the Huntress. But
Manaya
those aren't
bastı,
the
can
only
da alıyorsun.
ascendancies in Dawn of the Hunt. We've added a new ascension class for 3 of the other existing classes too.
Birer tane ekstra Ascendancy gelmiş her birisi.
First
Bu kim?
up for our warriors out there, we
Warrior.
have the Smith of
Orn.
Kitava. The warrior is a blacksmith in origin, taught by his father Randall.
Evet, Blacksmith
With
orada.
this ascension, you can take your smithing skills to new heights by embracing power from the insatiable one himself.
Abi Orn'u getirmişler.
Smiths of Kitava are master blacksmiths and have the ability to forge their weapon, quite literally. Using the Against the Anvil notable skill, you can enhance your weapon with fiery destruction before any battle. After doing so, your attacks will release explosions on hit for maximum devastation.
Güzel.
You can also use the power of Kitava to summon an animated copy of your weapon to fight alongside you.
Aha, silah kopyası çıkarıyorsun,
A
senin
great
için
blacksmith
savaşıyor.
can do more than just forging their weapon though. Their armor can be enhanced too.
Armor'ı da
Now you
yapabiliyorsun.
might think this Ascendancy class tree looks
Oh,
a little
kaç tane var
abnormal,
altta?
and you're right. There's a lot of notable skills all disconnected at the bottom there. By taking this point here, which is free to assign, your character is unable to equip body armors with mods of any kind. So your body armor must be normal. Sounds like a downside, right? Except now in true blacksmith fashion, you get to craft your own body armor by taking those disconnected notables with your points.
Ne diyorsun?
If you want your body armor to grant life, take this notable. If you want
Armor'la
resistance,
uğraşma.
take this one.
Bunlara tıkla, kendi
There's so
armor'ını
many
yap
choices.
diyor.
Think of it like you're crafting your own body armor, just in a more literal sense.
Bildiğin Orn oğlum bu.
Now, let's move on to those who prefer the reassuring feel of a crossbow in their hands, the mercenary.
Mercenary.
Alongside the existing Ascension classes, the Gemling Legionnaire and the Witch Hunter, you can now play as the Tactician. The
Tactician.
Tactician is a former Blackguard elite. Free from the duties of a Blackguard, he is able to use his training to decimate the monsters of Rayclast and earn a healthy income doing so. This training comes in the form of various skills like suppressing fire, which causes all projectiles to pin enemies. When combined with the right where we want them notable, your pin not only stops your enemies from moving, but stops them from performing actions too, similar to freeze. With a soldier's training, the Tactician also works well.
Banner. Banner'ları söylemiştik. Videomda söylemiştim. Banner'ları göstermiştim.
The Watch How We Do It skill gives a portion of your weapon's damage to your allies as well. But if that isn't enough, you can also command your army of off-screen archers to unleash hell and carpet an entire area with arrows. Finally, Witch players will be able to join their legions by becoming undead themselves.
Ne?
In Dawn of the Hunt, we're introducing the Lich Ascension class.
Lich.
The Lich is a master of chaos and curses and could sacrifice her life to enhance her energy shield. The Crystalline Phylactery skill allows you to nominate a jewel in which to contain part of your soul, massively increasing its power. There's
Oha.
just one downside to splitting your soul this way though. If you
Harry
have no
Potter.
energy shield, your mana costs will shoot up.
Harry Potter oluyor.
The Necromantic
Korkuluk.
Conduit skill causes you and allies in your presence to have unholy might, granting extra damage as chaos damage. Rupture the Soul makes enemies you curse explode with chaos damage when slain.
Oo. Explode geldi
Dominion
sonunda.
over Flesh allows you to apply an additional curse.
Additional curse güzel. Hem de X-Proof'lara da curse atabiliyorsun.
It's safe to say you'll be the true master of the occult by choosing the Lich class. So
Güzel,
Dawn of the
güzel.
Hunt has the Huntress and 5 new Ascension classes, but it doesn't end there. Let's take a look at some of the new skills we've added. Now you may remember we've previously talked about the Raise Spectre skill. It's finally complete, and it will be made available in the upcoming expansion.
Spectre'lar
It
geliyor.
can be found in the occult skills on the skill gem crafting panel.
Spectre'lar
Raise Spectre
geliyor.
is a skill that allows you to trap the soul of almost any monster in the game,
Of. Ne diyorsun? Spectre'lar geliyor.
which you can then summon in the skill panel. Spectres cost spirit and will revive automatically if they die.
Ne alacağız
Spirit cost
Spectre
varies
şimdi?
based on the power of the monster. You could summon an army of weaker monsters,
Or
a few of the more powerful monsters.
oy.
You can combine them with your existing skeleton minions, or summon exclusively Spectres. It's all up to you and how you want to customize your army of the undead. Given that there are hundreds upon hundreds of monster variants in Path of Exile 2, it's safe to say you'll be experimenting with this one for a while. We look forward to seeing which monsters serve you best. Now let's move on to our next skill. Since we've been talking about summoning undead so much, let's have a change of pace and summon something a little more alive. In Dawn of the Hunt, we're adding the Summon Rower skill.
Ne?
Summon your friendly rower to aid you in combat as a minion. You can also mount your rower in combat at any time, allowing you to move at full speed even while shooting arrows or throwing spears.
Yes! Yes!
If you take too much damage while riding your mount, you can be knocked off and get overwhelmed.
Sonunda!
Keeping an eye on your stagger bar, as falling off the
Mount
mount can
geldi,
almost
mount.
certain death. On the topic of new ways to enhance your character, let's talk about support gems. Support gems are used to modify your skill gems in meaningful and interesting ways. Currently, we feel that a lot of builds have insufficient options here. To alleviate this, we're adding over 100 new support gems.
Abi yüzden fazla
Crystals will
support.
enable a new kind of bleed build, turning the damage over time you would have done into explosive Vile crystals.
Ne diyorsun?
Alignment is a support gem for bow attacks, which can reward skilled players with good positional skills. Caltrops will allow you to litter the
Caltroplar.
battlefield with hazards, slowing your foes as you fling spears through their ranks. But there's plenty more for every playstyle, such as enormity, unsteady tempo,
Abi çok hızlı geçiyor.
profanity, retaliate,
Retaliate. Oha! Çok iyi.
syzygy. Yep, that's a real word.
O ne be? O nasıl bir kelime?
And many more.
Sizce.
Now, we've talked about a new class, new Ascendancy classes, new skills, and new support gems. But let's not forget about the core of a true action RPG, the items. To start with, let's talk about uniques.
Şu yeni
We're
eşya.
adding over
Alttakiler bak
100
yeniler.
new unique items.
Alttaki yenilere bak. Bir
This
sürü
time,
yeni
we've made
eşya
sure
var.
to add uniques with a focus on mid and endgame tiers to make sure there are more exciting items to find.
Adamın
for higher
kafayı
level
koparıp
characters.
eşya yapmışlar.
Let's look at some examples. Embrace your inner devil with Chernobog's Pillar. It grants you a large amount of fire damage based on your block chance.
Ha,
The
Warrior.
Coming Calamity allows you to become a true master of the elements, granting you all 3 elemental herald skills without costing any spirit.
Oha!
At the
Bu
same
ne?
time, it penalizes enemy resistances. Wastegate is a belt useful for builds using a single resource like Blood Magic or Archmage builds. With this belt, you can use 2 life flasks or 2 mana flasks. It's up to you.
Oo.
Now, we could go through these all day, but we'll leave most of them for
Aa,
you to
o
discover.
Path of Exile 1'deki eşya.
Suffice to say,
Yarı
though,
maske.
we want there to be way more cool things to find. Over time, our goal is to add a unique to every single base item type at a minimum, so that you can chance any base in the game.
Bu ne ya? Çok
Now,
güzelmiş bu.
given that we have the Huntress, we have a set of unique spears from early game all the way through to end game as well. One example is Scyther's Spear, which combines bleed and
Huh.
fire in a powerful way. It
Yakıncı
allows your
için bu.
ignites to be aggravated, dealing substantially more damage.
Yakıncı için.
We're also introducing a suite of unique bucklers with some interesting parry mechanics. Kalgyra's Arc, for example, allows you to parry projectiles from any distance. And
Infinite
we're also
Parry.
adding our first unique
Oh.
charms. Bayra's Anguish will not only protect you from Ignite, but will also emit a devastating fire nova whenever you do get ignited.
Oha!
In sum, there's just
O
a
da çok
ton of new
iyiymiş.
uniques to find. We can't wait to see the weird and broken builds that come out of it. Now, we also want to talk about crafting options. In each major
craft,
update
craft.
during early access, we'll be continuing to add and improve the options here. We have various new crafting tools that have been added as rewards to many of the different types of new content that we're adding. But for now, I just want to mention the changes to runes. Runes add commonly available mods.
En sağdaki
But
ne?
since they only have one tier, flat damage mods tend to get
Aa,
outclassed by
bunların da
in-game.
tierleri var
So we've
artık.
changed runes to have multiple tiers, allowing you to
Greater
get higher
Desert
tier
Rune
mods than
falan.
before.
Greater
Our
Magic
plan
Find
is to
falan olacak.
significantly expand the number of more specialized mods for crafting using socketables as we add new content over time. And the first new set of those comes from what we're talking about next. In Dawn of the Hunt, we're adding Azmerian wisps, which can be found throughout both the campaign and the endgame.
Wisp
The
ne?
Azmerian
Wisp?
spirit has made itself present in Rayclast, and it appears to be trying to warn, or maybe prepare us for the coming darkness. You will first encounter a manifestation of it in the Grellwood in Act 1, where you'll meet Delwyn and his merry hunter who is trying to find out what exactly is causing the spirit to behave this way. As you approach the wisp, it will flee, leading you past monsters.
Aha.
Any monsters it comes into contact with are infused by it, making them more powerful.
Tamam,
Each
tormentler
spirit is
gelmiş
associated with
yani.
a specific revered animal within his merry culture. This one is a
Değil
wisp
mi?
of the Great Bear and grants enemies extra life and stun. The wisp moves faster the closer you are, and as you move away, they slow down to wait for you. But if you get too far away for too long, they'll dissipate and return to the woods. As you continue to chase the wisp, it will find and possess a rare or unique monster, granting it a new powerful ability. Because this was a wisp of the Great Bear, this monster now also has increased life and stun. But on top of that, it will periodically summon a large spectral bear that slams with wild fury. If you're able to defeat this foe, you will be rewarded. For each monster that was infused and killed along the way, the rewards will be increased. Each
Oha.
wisp has its own mechanics. The wisp of the Winter Owl is a primal wisp that causes enemies to deal extra cold damage, gain energy shield, and release wind
O
vortices on
wispi
death.
takip
When
ediyorsun.
infusing a monster, they will call down large tornadoes to protect their host.
Her wispin özelliği
The wisp
varmış.
of the wild cat
Sonundaki
is
boss'u
a vivid
kesersen
wisp that causes affected
loot.
monsters to deal more critical strikes and become more evasive. When it infuses a monster, it will summon a barrage of feline spirits that will attempt to tear you limb from limb. If you're lucky, you may even find sacred wisps that can do some pretty crazy things to the monsters they influence.
Sacred
Like
Wisp
the
diye
wisp of
apayrı
the
bir şey
cunning
varmış.
fox, which turns normal monsters into magics, magic monsters into rares, and rare monsters into actual bosses.
Oha, bosslara çeviriyormuş Sacred Wisp onları.
Azmerian wisps can drop a new set of socketable items that allow you to craft a wide range of interesting new mods onto your items.
Oh,
Each
güzel.
one may only be used on a specific item slot. As mentioned, the Azmerian wisps can be encountered throughout the game, but there's also a
Yeni
new
wisp,
in-game
yeni.
map called the Azmeri Ranges, a mountain village where the Azmeri once lived, now overrun with corrupt monsters. This map always has multiple Azmerian wisps in it, and
Aha.
familiar, yet not quite the same boss fight. Azmerian wisps can also be further
Oha, bu
modified
ne?
by the
Bu
endgame
ne?
boss tree as well,
Bu ne?
and by tablets.
Tabletlerden
But
de
I'm not going to be the one talking about
Oha.
those things. In order to cover all
Yeni
the new
map,
content
evet.
in in-game, I'm going to hand things over to Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game
Hoş geldin
Director on
Mark.
Path of Exile 2. There's a ton to talk about with the endgame today, so let's dig right in. Path of Exile 2's early access began with a brand new endgame, and it was clear that it needed
Endgame.
a lot of work. After absorbing your feedback, we're ready to make some epic changes.
epic change'ler, epic
The first thing
değişiklikler.
is, we just need a lot more content.
Daha
In
fazla
Dawn of the
content.
Hunt, we have
Yes.
made sure to focus on increasing the sheer number of interesting and different encounters you will randomly stumble into as you explore the endgame. And the second goal is to smoothen the progression through maps and
Tamam.
reduce the amount of annoying busy work. To start with, let's talk about the new interesting stuff to find. Well, the most obvious thing to add are new maps. As well as the
Yeni
Azmerian ranges
mapler.
that Jonathan mentioned earlier, Dawn of the Hunt also contains 7 other new maps,
7
all
tane
with their
yeni
own
map.
custom encounters. Let's start with this one.
The Feral Megaliths map starts off in the wild Ezomite forests. As you progress through the forest, you will find mysterious rune-carved stones that, when touched, surge with energy. After activating all the stones, you can find a grand henge, where all the energy is coalescing. You can then start an encounter. The area darkens, a storm moves in, and a concentration of energy summons a dangerous
O ne
boss.
oğlum?
You must fight
O
and
ne?
defeat the boss to get its rewards. Once you have defeated it, summon another. And another. And
Oha!
another. And another.
Ne
You
diyorsun?
have 10 total waves of boss fights which get incrementally more difficult. If
Çok
you
iyi
manage
lan.
to defeat them, you get full boss rewards, but also opportunities to get new runes. These can only be obtained from this map.
Oha.
The Fractured Lake contains a surreal
Ah,
waterscape
Mirror of
with fractured
Kalandra.
mirror-like objects. As you move around the map, the terrain itself elevates from below, creating the
Bu
ground
Path of
to
Exile
walk on.
1'de dikti arkadaşlar.
In this unique map, all the rare monsters are mirrored, so you're always fighting 2 of the same rare at the same time, which can
Her
prove
şey
quite
mirror burada.
difficult. If you manage to overcome that challenge and make it to the end of the map, you'll be presented with a broken mirror, a powerful altar-like object that contains an item within it. The item contained within is a new base type, either an amulet or a ring. that can be crafted to have additional prefixes or suffixes at the cost of the other. The last unique map we'll show today is one based around the essence mechanic. You enter a crystalline cavern, and you will find a powerful map boss imprisoned in the center. It is surrounded by many rare monsters, also imprisoned in essences. By freeing and defeating the rare monsters, the essence they held will be upgraded to a greater essence, and be added to the imprisoned map boss. How brave are you? How many essences will you add to the boss? Overdo it, and you might lose everything. Underdo it, and you might regret it. It's your choice. Speaking of essences, alongside visual improvements, you're now able to apply Varlorbs to corrupt the essences, with a range of unpredictable outcomes.
Daha çok Vaal şansı. O potion'ların rengi niye öyle? O potion'lar niye öyle?
All the essences to the same type,
Ha şey vermiş.
or even
Ascendancy'den
upgrade the
gelmiş.
essences to greater essences. What if they're already greater essences?
Altı map portal mı?
It can upgrade those too. We have 4 new corrupted essences. Essence of Hysteria, Delirium, Horror, and Insanity.
Bunlar ne?
Each corrupted essence has its own interesting combat mechanics. For example, the essence of Insanity causes you to question even your own mind, as monsters split into shadowy clones, and you must locate the real one before a devastating icy explosion freezes everything around it.
Çok iyi şey. Path of
Each
Exile
of these has
1'deki
their own
boss
crafting
özelliği.
outcomes. The essence of Insanity can be applied to a belt. It adds a mod that will ensure the next Varlorb used on the belt will guarantee adding 2 enchantments.
2 enchantment. Nasıl yani? Oha!
It's worth noting all the essences in the unique map can also be corrupted too, if you're willing to risk it. It's worth noting we have also added 10 extra Atlas passive points you can earn by completing 5 different unique maps.
Yes.
Now, new maps are just the beginning. We had a goal where we wanted to make sure you were constantly finding exciting new content,
Yeni
and that it could be
content daha
lurking
fazla.
around any corner. So, we have added a bunch of new things that you could stumble into in any map you run.
On your travels, you will sometimes encounter rogue exiles.
Rogue
Others
Exiles.
like you who have been exiled and are openly hostile. Some are malicious, some are mad, while others are simply fiends for loot. They will challenge you, a fight to the death.
Şey de vur be
They
adam.
use the same skills available to players, and even the same items. They aren't just dressed up in those items, they're actually using them. It's going to feel like a true player versus player situation.
Harbiden PvP olmuş bu
Of
arada.
course, if you are able to slay these exiles, those items will all drop on the ground. So if you encounter an exile using a powerful or valuable unique item, which you can see displayed under their life bar, you
Aha!
want to be damn sure you
Eşyaları gözüküyor
because
altında.
if they kill you and your party, they'll portal out, taking their items with them. Every fight will feel completely different depending on the items they come equipped with. These exiles are much smarter than your regular monster. They have capabilities to
Düşünsenize
dodge roll,
üzerinde
avoid your abilities with smart pathfinding,
ne bileyim
smart targeting,
Ingenuity falan
and
olsa
much more action-packed
bilmiyorum
gameplay.
olur mu ama
Fortunately,
Oy.
they're like you and they're not super durable. Unless, of course, they're wearing uniques like Kalm's Heart, in which case, expect a longer battle.
Kaan
There are
artık
12
yiyorsa.
different rogue exiles you can find,
12
each with
tane
their own
farklı.
skills and personalities.
Güzel güzel.
Some may insult you, while others may admire your honor in combat.
Another encounter you might stumble onto in Dawn of the Hunt are one of 4 new unique strongboxes.
Strongboxes are chests with modifiers.
Allah
When
razı
you try
olsun
to
ya.
open them, they activate traps and spawn waves of monsters that you must defeat to access
Yeni
the
Strongbox'lar geliyor.
Let's take a look at 2 of the new unique boxes that are harder to
O ne?
find and behave just a little bit differently.
O ne?
The Ogham's Legacy Strongbox has a corpse splayed out in front of the rune-carved stone. Upon interacting with the stone, you activate Forbidden Ezomite magic, which revives the monster as a powerful rare. The Strongbox comes with a modifier which determines how many times it will revive that rare. Each time you defeat the monstrosity, the Strongbox revives it again, adding an extra modifier to the monster. With each resurrection, it
5
becomes
kere
more difficult,
dövüyorsun, her
but
birisinde
also
loot
more
düşüyor.
rewarding. This
Ama her seferinde
Strongbox is
güçleniyor.
infused with thaumaturgy from ancient
31.
Fire technology.
Pek biliyormuş
Eshel's
bunda.
Torment has a powerful artifact inside and is guarded by chaos itself. Defeating the monsters will grant you a unique item with a specific corrupted outcome. You'll have to find the other 2 for yourself to see what they do.
Oğlum bunlar ne?
Now, let's talk about the introduction to the endgame. Upon starting the endgame, Doriani tasks you with cleansing corruption to
Evet.
help restore the land.
100 tane harita
However,
yaptırıyor bize.
in practice, the quest objective just sent you on a grind to clear 15 maps. We wanted to make the quest to unlock your Atlas passives much more interesting.
Now, Doriani is tasking you with a more specific objective. On the Atlas, you will find areas of corruption caused by the beast. In the center of each one, you will find a corrupted nexus, the
Corrupted
source of the
nexus.
affliction. In the areas leading up to the nexus, you will notice that corruption spills out from slain enemies and amalgamates into powerful monsters. Corrupted maps existed on the Atlas before, but we've done significant work on improving these monsters.
Yeni
We've
yaratıklar
also
olacak
done a
içinde.
full pass on the modifiers on these maps to make them more interesting and more rewarding. Once you reach the nexus, you will have a new task: cleanse the source of corruption. When you
Corruption'ın
defeat the
kaynağını
last rare in those
temizle.
maps, they will spawn one of 3 terrifying bosses,
Aha.
amalgamations of corruption itself. After defeating that boss, Doriani will come and cleanse the corruption for good. As the remains of the boss are purged of corruption, it coalesces into raw crystallized power, which you can use to gain points for your Atlas passive skill tree. The upgrade system that allows you to add and enhance content in your maps. We didn't stop there though. When you complete a corrupted nexus, all of the remaining surrounding corrupted maps will become cleansed maps.
Cleanse,
Cleansed
tertemiz
maps
harita.
also have new monsters,
Çok da temiz değilmiş.
a new boss,
Boss'u da var içinde.
and their own set of modifiers and rewards, including finding fracturing orbs by slaying cleansed enemies.
Fractured Doors.
These orbs
Oo.
can be used in crafting on a rare item to cause one of its modifiers to become fractured. A fractured modifier is
Geldi,
one that
vallahi
cannot be
geldi.
modified by any means.
Geldi.
You're
Craftlar
able to freely
geldi.
modify the item, ensuring the fractured modifier will never change. If you get the right item with the right mod, it can prove to be a very powerful crafting base indeed. You must now choose. Do you complete all the corrupted maps and then the Nexus? Or maybe you beeline to the Nexus, complete it, and do all the remaining maps cleansed. Both
Vallahi
have
geldi.
rewards to entice you and challenges to assess.
Now, let's have a talk about towers.
Tower'lar
One
dur.
thing we've had a lot of feedback on is
Ne?
the busy work around
Ne
running
oldu
towers
öyle?
and managing your tablets.
3 tane tablet mi koyabiliyoruz
The
öyle?
first change
Bir
we've
tane
made here
tower'a.
is that we have reduced the number of towers drastically.
Yanlış
So
mı
there are
gördüm?
now 1/3 as many as before, but we've made them much more powerful. To start with, tablets now inherently add twice as many mechanics. But that's not all. Running higher tier maps and towers now increases the number of mechanics applied by tablets. By tier 15, the bonus is double, allowing a single tablet to now add 4 times as many mechanics as before. So, we're running far fewer towers, dealing with fewer tablets, and affecting even more maps than
20
before.
28
But because
maps.
there are fewer towers overlapping with each other, you won't get as many opportunities to stack different tablets. In order to solve this, we've made it so that each tower can consume up to 3 tablets at once.
3 tablet alıyor bir
You'll
tane
always
tower.
get 1 slot on completing the tower, but if you can complete a tower with more mods on the waystone, you can unlock a second or third slot. Overall, this allows for even more juicing from
buradayım.
towers, while drastically reducing the amount of busy work you have to do. On top of that, towers are much more interesting maps because they can now spawn with all mechanics, including bosses.
Each tower map has a new boss. Let's take a look at a couple here.
The boss fight of the Alpine Ridge map has 2
Bu ne oğlum?
powerful witches
Vallahi Harry
contesting
Potter
for
yapmışlar.
territory.
Bak Voldemort Harry
One
Potter.
witch has an affinity for ice, the other fire. Who will win? Hopefully neither. The boss of the Sinking Spire map is a remnant of the Val that has been charged with lightning. It uses a full suite of lightning abilities. But be careful. If any of them hit the surrounding constructs, they will power up.
Another thing that
Harbiden
we've seen a lot of
Kadir.
feedback about is sustaining waystones. As we looked into it, we realized that the people who couldn't sustain waystones were dying a lot. A lot more than we had expected. And that made us realize something. During the campaign, the expectation is that you can die multiple times in order to learn how to overcome challenges.
Evet.
You are able to learn how the monsters behave, adapt to their skills, and eventually overcome them. But as soon as you get to the endgame, you're effectively no longer allowed to die if you want to sustain waystones. By the time you are getting towards the end of Endgame, we want you to have to be careful not to die. But it certainly shouldn't be that we have such a sudden shift as you run your first maps.
The first change we're making is you can now respawn and return to a map if you die.
Abi 6 tane
Continuing from where you
portal.
left off.
Yes, sonunda.
When you start the endgame, you get up to 6 total attempts per map.
Ah
As you
gençler.
add more modifiers to a
Gözünüz
waystone,
aydın.
the number of respawns goes down.
Aa.
This means that as you get to the point that you're running every waystone as a rare, you will have to be more careful.
Hayda. Abi yine tek portal.
In parties, everyone gets to respawn that number of times. But we still think it's important that you can kill a boss in one go. In order to allow that to happen, we've made a change so that once you start the boss fight, it changes over to the same respawning system we use for pinnacle bosses. This means that the map owner can choose to respawn everyone at the same time. Another complaint we've seen a lot of is players not wanting to do the pinnacle content because of the experience penalty from dying. A change we've made here is that all pinnacle content now no longer grants experience, but also no longer removes experience on death either.
Pinnacle bosslarda
Dawn of the
penaltı
Hunt
almıyorsun da
also brings the
saçma abi.
first batch of Twilight Order reliquary keys from the early access supporter packs.
Ne?
These keys contain items selected by our supporters. They can contain any unique item found in Path of Exile 2. If the selected item is a pinnacle boss drop, then only special keys dropped by this content will be able to provide these items. For example, Hand of Wisdom in action can only come from a key dropped by Zesht.
Okey tamam, radikaller gelmiş
We're also
buraya.
making a change that allows pinnacle boss uniques to drop at any difficulty. Rarer uniques will be rarer at lower difficulties, but still possible to find. This applies to the drop chances for the reliquary keys from this content as well. We spoke about towers and tablets earlier, but we have also added a suite of unique tablets.
Unique tablet.
Each of these adds crazy interactions to the maps influenced by it.
O ne?
For example, this unique tablet allows you to run any map in a tower's radius without requiring connections, which can be quite useful for jumping gaps and traveling around your atlas.
Oh.
And this
Sonunda
tablet
getirmişler
causes
şunu ya.
all runic monsters spawn during expedition encounters to be duplicated, and weakens all expedition monsters that emerge from the ground. The Atlas tree has also been expanded, and you can find many of the new mechanics there,
Oha.
and improvements to existing ones too. Now, through this
Essence'lara
live
bak.
stream, we have mentioned quite a few new crafting options that we've added. New runes, corrupted essences, fractured mods, and jewelry crafting bases. But we did have just one more crafting system to talk about.
Bir tane daha var.
Recombination.
Recombination buraya da
was the
gelmiş.
only in-game mechanic that was lacking a crafting system, so that needed to change.
Ha bunu da
Recombination is a
Expedition'a
mechanic
bağlamışlar.
that might be familiar to some players. It allows you to merge two items
Haydi.
together, hoping to get the best elements of each on a single new item. This new crafting bench will be unlocked as you complete your first expedition, and requires artifacts found during expeditions to fuel it. The rarer the mods on the item you are combining, the more expensive the cost. That wraps up all the major in-game changes we're talking about today. With all the system changes and new content, we can't wait to get in there, start blasting maps, and obliterating monsters. There is one more thing we wanted to clarify before we move on, which is that all the content we've talked about today will be made available in the existing early access leagues, so you can play your existing characters. However, there will be new leagues made for those who wish to start in a fresh economy. It is recommended to start over and get the full new experience in the Dawn of the Hunt leagues.
İster olan karakterlerle devam edin,
For all our
isterseniz
existing
yeni
early access
ligde
players,
başlayın diyorlar.
we're really looking forward to joining you players
Yani
on this
şeyde
new
böyle
update.
olacakmış.
For those who don't already have access, and
Early
are
access
interested in
liginde
playing
de
Path of
olacakmış
Exile
bunların
2,
hepsi.
Dawn of the Hunt, you are able to at any time purchase an early access supporter pack at www.pathofexile2.com. Additionally, the